and welcome back to another episode of the podcast, Come Over for Dinner. Thank you for joining me. I'm so excited you're listening. Today, I have a very special guest. Her name is Danielle. She is the mom of 3 small children, 4, 2, and 7 months. I cannot wait to hear all of her tips, especially about how she gets her kids involved when she's inviting company over, because that is a lot of young people underfoot. She has tips on ways to get them to help and really enjoy doing it. So welcome, Danielle.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Well, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm a Texas native, so same as you, although different area of Texas. But I came up to Idaho in 2017, so I've been here now for almost 10 years, almost a third of my life. So I guess I can call myself an Idaho.
You can be a Texan
yes,
and an
I know,
Idahoan.
right? Yeah, I'm like, am I an Idaho native now? But yeah, so I met my husband in college, and then we got married right after graduated.
Okay, pause on the met your husband. Tell us about how you met, because it's a really interesting story.
Yeah, so we met on a short film set. That he's an artist, Harissa Dickison, and he was the artist on set, and I was acting in the short film. And what's funny is the very first time he ever saw me, I was coming out of a grave. So it was like it's kind of this like really trippy, dream-like short film. And they had built this sod wall, and I was like supposed to break through the sod wall and like come out with visual effects. It was going to look like I was, coming out from the grave, but it was a real sod wall, and I came through, and that was the first time he ever saw me, just coming out of a grave.
Coming out of a grave. I mean, what did you look like?
I know. Well, I think I was supposed to have like a resurrected type look, so I didn't look too rough, but
you didn't look like an undead or
no.
Or something.
I mean, in other parts of the film, I did. I was supposed to look more, all messed up, but this one was more of like the last resurrection scene.
I see.
So yeah,
okay.
So hopefully, guess it made a good impression.
What he can say, there was almost love at first sight.
Right, I know.
His future wife come out of a grave.
Come out of a grave. So yeah, so that was really fun, and then and then we had kids pretty quickly. So we had 4-year-old Lilius, a 2-year-old Penelope, and then our youngest daughter Mercedes is 7 months. And so. Yeah, we're busy little house over there.
Yes, and all of her girls are so adorable. They're
fun.
Just so sweet, so cute.
We have so much fun.
And I know, being a young family, that you have other young families and friends that you invite over. Tell us a little bit about what you do and one of your favorite menus to serve when you do have company over.
Yes, yeah. Well, we try to, and we go through seasons where we're better at it than others, but we try to make Tuesday night our hospitality night. So my mother-in-law has us all over for dinner on Wednesday. So, it's kind of last push on Tuesday. We can make a really nice meal, have people over, and then I get a break on Wednesday. So it's kind of worked out well. So we, generally like to have, families with younger kids. And then also my husband teaches an art elective at New St. Andrews. And so while he's doing that, we try to have batches of like 4 students over every Tuesday. So then we now we've started to, it's fun because now I've gotten to know students again after years of being out of that. But so we don't really have the size house to be able to have his whole class over, but it's kind of fun because we get to have four over at a time. So we get to know them better. And then, we get to have our one foot in the student world still.
And sometimes if it's a smaller group, it is true that you can get to know that individual person a little bit better than if it's just a massive party or a massive crowd. Right, or a group of 20 or something like that. You get to really talk have more time talking to each individual person. So we do a sign-up sheet, and then for like every Tuesday for the 8 weeks that he does his class, we do that. Fun.
That's kind of a nice like built-in hospitality avenue.
And what fun for college kids away from home. They're not a lot of times cooking for themselves, or if it is, it's a quick, I don't know. I hear college kids talking about ramen noodles.
Right.
And, really quick things, not a real full home cooked meal.
Yes. Yeah. I lived with a family all the way through college, and it was just such a blessing. Like the dinner table was such a place of refuge, and just to kind of remember that you are not going to be in school forever, and like you're not always going to have that very particular stress from school of just like being around the dinner table with the family with young kids it was just a breath of fresh air. Even if we were having a simple dinner.
A lot of times the host or hostess has been where those kids are.
Yes.
And so they can say, listen, I made it through college.
Yes.
Let me tell you my tips, or just encourage them. And just kind of find out where they are and you can relate.
Right. Yeah.
Offer some much needed advice or encouragement.
Yes. And a favorite menu that I love to make it's a sheet pan harissa chicken and sweet potatoes from a website called Feasting at Home, which I love that title. I don't think she's a Christian, but she has great. I've really enjoyed the recipes from her blog, but it is just a really flavorful. I usually do bone-in, like kind of a mixture of bone-in chicken thighs and drumsticks, and then sweet potato, and then you bake it in. I love sheet pan dinners. I feel like they're just so flavorful and delicious. And then the recipe actually doesn't have you do this, but I serve it over rice, just to make it go further. But then what really makes it incredible, and what I feel like, if I've ever brought you dinner, I've probably brought you this recipe. And usually when people ask, they ask particularly for the.
Oh my God, I might need a dinner brought.
No, right? And the thing that really stands out to most people is the green sauce. It's a quick green harissa sauce, which is basically like a cilantro yogurt sauce. And it's really simple, but so delicious. You just whip it up in the blender really quickly. And so, and I brought someone a meal like almost 2 years ago, I think, when they first moved here. And the girl, they've since moved on back to Texas, but the girl texted me just like 3 days ago. I was like, hey, do you have that? This is really random, but do you have that recipe you brought us? So I was preparing for this podcast, so I felt very like, phew, okay, I guess I'm not just imagining this. This is actually like a good, memorable meal.
A tried and true favorite.
Right. Yes. Yeah. So, so we love that. And the rice really makes it, go further, especially if you're having a larger crowd. And then it's also, it's a gluten-free meal as well. So it's it's a great meal for people who have allergies. You don't even necessarily have to check with them about it. But which is definitely something I need to get better about doing, is asking if they have allergies before. Because I always, when they walk through the door, it dawns on me, I'm like, I should have asked, do you guys have any allergies?
Right.
And
I know
I'm trying to get better about that.
Quick text before I plan my menu, just in case. But
when you had us over for dinner, you asked us, which was good job. And we didn't have any, but
I'm having to try to say the same thing to myself, because some people have dairy or some people have nuts or just different things. So
I feel like deconstructed meals are often a great way to go to kind of like hedge your bets.
Especially if you're having a large group over.
Yes, right.
And maybe if you're having a large group of college kids over, which I know you said you do 4 at a time, but then if you had deconstructed, then they can pick the ingredients that work for them.
Yes, yeah, which is great. And then also for kids, that's great. If they're really picky, they could just have the rice, or or just like that way parents can decide.
Right. Do I want to make this a moment where they have to eat a bite? Or maybe we'll just go for the chicken and rice without the sauce.
Right.
Whatever,
yes, exactly. Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Well, I will definitely post this recipe
it's
on my website. It's called comeoverfordinner.com, and you can find the recipe there. Do you make the one I'll post will have all of your changes, or do you pretty much go with?
Yeah, I pretty much go with, but sometimes I double the marinade. Because sometimes I don't follow exactly, and I do more chicken than they say. So I just like to double the marinade because I just feel like it's so good. And then sometimes I'll double the sauce as well. But I feel like the sauce, it does make a good amount of sauce, but sometimes I'll just make it for like a salad dressing the next day, so that I'll just kind of whip it up all at once. And I skip the caraway seeds usually. Okay. Just because I don't typically keep those in my pantry.
No, I don't
but other than that, it's mostly.
Okay, well, it looks delicious. What is your best prep tip? Meaning, let's start with cooking inspiration. If you're prepping for a meal, you're going to have people over. Where do you look for cooking inspiration?
Well, I'm definitely, I'm the very tail end of a millennial. So Pinterest is the main place that I do go. But as soon as I make a recipe from Pinterest and kind of find something that I like, I will print it off after I've made it like 3 or 4 times. And that's something that I would really encourage younger cooks to do. And I guess I'm late 20s, so like 20s, 30s. I think that's generationally, it's not really, we don't do that. Like we just rely on our phones so heavily for everything, and your phone will have like flour and butter on it. You're trying to, like, I'm like, why am I doing this? Like I really should
if you have it printed off, you can
print
have
it
on your cookbook stand or
exactly.
taped on a cabinet. And then you can just glance at it too, because your phone sleeps. It goes off.
It does, and it's so annoying. Yes, I know.
With using my phone, I do sometimes, but then it goes to sleep, and I'll turn around and want to look at something real quick. And it's
I have to do the whole unlocking thing, and So I definitely would. I guess we just like even with directions to places, like people used to print off maps. So I feel like it was much more of a generational thing that you just would do, but my generation is so, we rely on our phones for everything. So that would be a big tip that I would say to younger homemakers is print things off. If you enjoy a recipe, make a couple of things, print them off. I do also love cookbooks, and I've been trying to make a better effort about getting good ones in my home. I found a bunch of Ina Garten cookbooks, and so I'm happy to do that, especially as I have 3 girls, and I want them to be able to just pour over cookbooks, and not have to be online on Pinterest. It's like, I want them to have that tangible thing. So I've been trying to build up my cookbook. Yes, even though realistically that's not as often where I go, but I do, still do it some. Yeah.
Well, and hot tip, you can get, Ina Garten's been around long enough that you can get her cookbooks at used bookstores in great shape. I have found them at TJ Maxx on sale. And other places. I mean, obviously you can shop at your favorite, whatever book place, but you can find them used for really inexpensive.
Yes, it's true. Yeah, anytime someone I'm listening to, I was listening to your podcast and Becca's episode, and she talked about, I think, that Herb Farm cookbook, and so I found that online, used but in like great condition for like $4, and so I ordered it, and
I need to do that.
It's so just
on
always
my list of things to do.
Look, and there's a bunch of thrift book websites, and I'm always, sometimes not the case, but sometimes I'm very pleasantly surprised by how inexpensive you can find.
And then if you've only spent $4, if you pass it on to somebody, you haven't really lost much, or you could resell it for the same amount.
Right, so yes, exactly.
One tip about your printing recipes off and putting them into your own binder, I feel like that's a really good way. I've done that over the years, and it's a really good way to create your own family favorites. So if you have your own binder of recipes after years of, printing off of your favorite blog or your favorite chef or your favorite website or Pinterest or whatever, you end up with your family favorites. And like if I cook it 3 or 4 times, it goes into the book. And then if I go through my book, every so often, it's like, oh, we never make that. Then I'll tear it out. And after years of doing that, when I have 3 children married now, 5 kids all together, and 4 of them are in their 20s. 3 of them are married. And when they got married, I created their own recipe binder for them. Fun. And it was very fun. I think they really liked it because all of a sudden they could share with whoever they were marrying, all of their favorites from their house.
That's so great.
And one of the things I did besides just printing off the recipes and putting in a binder, I added pictures. So I looked back through all of our photos, and if we had a picture of food that applied, like let's say we had a Thanksgiving dinner and there on the buffet was the sweet potato casserole, that would go on the sweet potato casserole recipe page.
So fun.
And I put it in plastic sleeves and all that. So it ended up turning into a picture/recipe book, and it was very fun. So that's a tip that I offer because really it really it took a little bit of time, especially the first one. It took a long time to go through the pictures and pick out all the recipes and decide what to do. But then after that, I just copied it, and different pictures, because I tried to choose pictures that had the kid I was giving it to.
That's so fun.
One of my sons, when he was a teenager in high school, I have a scone recipe that's our favorite, and he made it for his high school class, It's I want to learn how to make, I want to take these scones to class. I have a picture of him as a teenager.
Oh, that's so great.
Wearing like this bright orange running headband because he had just gotten done with the track team or something. And he's holding, his big plate of scones, and that, of course, went into his book with the scone recipe.
That's so fun.
Anyway,
I'll have to get that scone recipe because I feel like I'm always trying different ones. And
this is the best.
Oh, good.
It is the only scone recipe.
Yes,
you need.
right? Well, then, because you can add all the different, seasonal things. I love cooking seasonally. That's another thing that I love about printing off recipes is like this time of year, I love making zucchini bread because everything, it's like, so I have my favorite zucchini bread recipe from Smitten Kitchen. And like, and then when the strawberries come out, there's like this favorite strawberry cake that I make. I'm kind of one of those people that will not buy strawberries unless it's spring. And then I go crazy and I buy a ton of them. And then, it's like in the winter, I crave like a yogurt lemon loaf cake and so we have all those recipes printed out. And so now it's like, it feels like part of the rhythm of our family. It's like, oh yeah, it's time. Mom is going to make, and I don't do anything pumpkin until October.
Yes.
Like, there's like, you got to just take it. So then I do like our pumpkin bread and then banana bread's kind of all year round, but
yes,
just like those different baking things that are seasonal. And then you always know the girls can expect, oh yep, it's September. Mom's going to make our favorite zucchini bread recipe. And
For me, it's peaches in the middle of summertime. I have favorite peach recipes and blueberry recipes for July and August.
Yes, me too.
But that's another thing. If you have a binder, you can create a section that's seasonal.
Right. Yes.
Or just topics. Like if you do fruit, I have a fruit section and I put all my fruit recipes, but that's where I go in the summertime.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Then it's so fun. And it feels just like a celebration. And then you're not hunting for that one recipe on Pinterest, and it's like, was this the right one? Or I don't know.
Well, and I feel like I forget about them.
Yes,
sometimes
exactly. I do too.
If they're online and I haven't saved it somewhere, I'll make I have a recipe for granola bars that I made. I remember having them on a camping trip, and they were just a huge hit. Right. Don't have a clue. This was years ago.
Yes,
don't have a clue, and it's almost like I've never made quite such good granola bars since then.
Right. Yeah. Oh man.
Okay. Yeah. What is your best shopping tip?
Okay. Yeah. So, I recently read. Well, I didn't actually get to finish it because it was a library copy, and before I could finish it, I had to return it. But The Everlasting Meal by Tamar Adler is a fabulous book. It's kind of like a memoir about cooking and about, I think it's cooking with economy and grace or something like that. So it's sort of a whole food philosophy about how you can basically make meals stretch and make them like kind of bleed into each other. That's not the right word, but like kind of like feed into each other.
Okay.
And so how like you buy a chicken, like a whole chicken, and you roast it and you serve that for dinner. And then, maybe you don't finish the whole entire chicken. So you take all the pieces off, and the next day you make enchiladas with it. And then you take the carcass and you make a really delicious broth. And then you make like a tortilla soup from that. So it's basically like talking about how they can kind of cascade into different meals. And I love that idea because I feel like that's such a great way of just kind of, it really kind of starts to exercise your creative muscles and like, okay, what do I have in the refrigerator? How can I use all these things and use them up? So, so that would be something that I would, kind of recommend, I guess. Yeah. If you're going to buy, I tend to like buying things like whole chickens because I feel like it lends itself to more meals than just chicken breasts. And speaking of that, since chicken has been so expensive recently, I feel like going into grocery shopping with maybe more of a flexible idea for a meal plan is really been helping me recently because, we tend to think traditionally, okay, chicken and eggs, that's like going to be your cheapest protein sources. And that has so not been the case. I mean, eggs got really expensive there for a while. And so it's like, oh, I guess a quiche, a nice quiche is actually not going to be the most economical. It's not the most economical option. And so I found ground beef it's about to go bad maybe the next day. And I found that, and it was cheaper than eggs. So it's kind of one of those things. It doesn't always mean that you're going to be like, going all vegetarian, but just kind of like, being flexible and being willing to kind of, not stick with what you've always thought is like, the
Right.
cheapest, but, maybe do pork. And so, so that would be kind of a shopping tip that I
and
would
grocery
have.
stores weekly put out a sale ad.
Right.
And if you watch for those, you can really find things that
Yes.
are a lot cheaper than normal.
Yeah.
I know ground beef for a while was really expensive.
Yes.
So that was the way I would try to shop, to get just ground beef. Look and see who has it on sale.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
And then stock up
exactly.
and put it in the freezer.
Right.
But most stores do have ads, and if they're not mailed to you, most stores have apps, you know, where you can look and see their sale ad online.
And you usually get like discounts if you use their app, or I've done that with Safeway before. You can get like, there's I think online coupons now, or just like where it's like you see the sale price, and so then I was like looking at it was like a cut of meat. It was a lot cheaper if I downloaded the app. So I was looking, I was like, I guess I'm gonna download the app right now.
All right, so
I know it worked.
Well, that's a very good tip.
Yeah.
All right, what about cleaning? You're having guests into your home. How do you prepare?
So this is definitely extra tricky when you have little people who just love
to
pulling out all the toys all the time. Yes,
and undo all of your hard work.
Right. Yes, exactly. Which is always the most opportunity for sanctification. I feel like in that category of just like,
God
just
is working on my patience
right,
right now.
So I would say, because I can tend to want to like clean up all the toys in the morning before people are coming over, and that's I found to just be a bad idea. It's just like, if I need to prioritize the more important things that so cleaning the bathroom, that's like, that would be my tip, is just like in the morning or even the night before, clean the bathroom so that it's just like a peace of mind thing. And then you can kind of tear through and put up the toys like in the afternoon, maybe when kids are down for a nap or whatever. But just kind of, I would say that type of thing more. And also check the bathroom right before the guests get there, especially if you have potty training people. And it's just, it's amazing how I can clean the bathroom even in the afternoon, and then the sink is all messy. It just like, there's tons of flecks of water all over the mirror. And I'm like, the times I've always been so grateful, the times that I have just did like the last minute, like literally as the guests are walking through the door, sometimes I've like just snuck to the bathroom. So just do that. And then I feel like, because people understand, like if you have little kids, they're not going to be, if you have toys on the floor, it's, it's okay. But make sure to be hospitable and having your bathroom be a pleasant place to.
Sure.
And I love having just like greenery or flowers we have a cutting gardens here. So I love just having flowers in the bathroom. It's just so nice to like have a little moment in there where it's just like a candle and flowers is, I just feel like sometimes those little extra things can really
make it so
it's like, this is so fun. Like they thought about me coming ahead of time, and it was not just like a, last minute thing.
Well, another thing I thought of this morning, just this morning, there were people that came to our house that had a couple of small girls.
Okay.
And I didn't realize that I didn't have a little step stool in the bathroom.
Oh, yes.
And that might be a great idea if you have families with young children over. And
right,
so
that's smart. Yeah.
Helping the girl to get the soap or reach the soap.
Yeah.
And she was old enough to do it herself if she'd had a step stool.
Yes.
So I thought, note to self.
Yeah,
I need to get a small, and they
yes.
have folding ones like that you could fold and put in the cabinet.
And just put in the cabinet. Yeah, that's really smart. We have just
there.
That's because we have our step stool out all the time because we have small kids. But if you don't have small kids, I could totally see.
I know it just kind of all of a sudden dawned on me, and I do have a step stool, but it's more like
in
a
the bathroom.
utility type stool,
like in your pantry type thing,
to climb up into your pantry, or if you're outside trying to reach a window to wash or something like that. But not a little cute stool for the bathroom.
That is a good.
And
that is a really
good
tip.
Kids were little, of course, like you, we had one in the bathroom.
Yeah, you don't even think about it
because didn't even think about it.
So when you're out of that phase, you gotta kind of.
Got to kind of think about
get back in that mindset for a second.
Yes.
Oh, that's fun.
So what is your best advice for showing warm hospitality to those coming into your home? We did talk about the bathroom.
Yes.
What else?
Yeah. So I'm a big lighting person. I love. So funny. My dad's an engineer, and so he's very, very practical and very like utilitarian in a lot of ways. And so growing up, we would always have not real battles, but just like kind of playful battles about like, he would always want the lights on really bright and, all the lights. And I was like, I would have had everything like by candlelight, and like kind of a little bit ridiculous where it's like, I actually can't see my food, but I'm still going to it's going to be romantic and beautiful. And so I've definitely, come a little bit, obviously more to the practical side. Right. Yes. But I still think lighting is so fun, and it can really create such a fun vibe. So I would say, have as many like little lamps and just like different sources of light besides just the main one. Although I did read in our tiny book at some point that the brightest, when you're having a dinner party, the brightest light should be at the table. So you should dim a lot of the other lights and have candles and but then have your light so that it kind of creates this magnetic draw to the table. Okay. So kind of make the other areas a little bit more dim, and then people are drawn to the table because the candles and the light, it's like, oh, that's where I want to be, you know? And so that's a fun little tip, especially in the winter when it's really dark. Oh, sure. I really like to lean into that because
it's a great idea.
Yeah, because it helps to just kind of make it feel like.
So do you turn on the lights and have candles, or do you dim your lights and have candles?
I do both. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I don't turn off the light because my husband would not appreciate that. It's like, okay, where is the light? I can't see to cut my food.
Right.
But we do have one of those dimmers on our dining room table, and so I love that. And then another tip for music is to have it be playing just a little too loud when people get there, to kind of create this. You walk in and it's immediately a party. And this might be a little bit more of like if you're having a party than if you're just having another family over for dinner. But you could kind of take the same principle. And then obviously turn it down in the middle so you're not having to shout over each other during your meal. But then at the very end, this is kind of the more unique part, is turn it back up, like at the very end of the party, so that people leave with like a feeling of like, oh, that was so fun, instead of like, oh, I'm so tired, I'm ready for bed. It just kind of like helps keep things like upbeat and
vibe as they're walking out the door.
Yeah. And then the kind of like plus side, kill two birds with one stone of that is it can kind of cue people that it's time to go if they're staying really late and you have young kids that you need to put to bed and all of that. So if you kind of turn the music up, it kind of
start sending kids to the bathroom to brush their teeth.
It's a little bit of a more subtle tip.
Cue.
You can go for more intense cues later. But yeah, so that's one thing. And then another thing that I'm personally really trying to get better about is greeting guests at the door. So I tend to be, bustling in the kitchen and then I send my husband and my girls to go answer the door. And so that's what I've done more, but I really am trying to make a more concerted effort to
take a few seconds,
pause, go say, I'm so happy you guys are here, and then go back to the kitchen.
That's a great idea.
Because if the hostess is relaxed and if the hostess is truly enjoying herself, that's what's going to make a pleasant evening. If she's like stressed about anything, just don't apologize. Don't be stressed. Just,
And it does just take a few seconds.
It does.
Then you can draw your guests into the kitchen with you. And
right,
give them
exactly.
A small job, or have them sit on a stool and visit with you or something like that.
Yeah.
Back to the music. I think that's a great idea too for a party. It's a really great idea, but especially if you're having people over you're not very comfortable with.
Exactly.
Like new people or somebody
you might not have a lot
from church.
to talk about away.
Somehow it just if there's just silence for a little bit, it's not quite as awkward.
Exactly.
There's some fun music playing.
Right. Exactly.
Because there can be awkward pauses or silences,
especially as you're trying to finish things. It's like it's before you're actually sitting at the table, and you're still mentally needing to get things out of the oven. And so
what to pull out of the oven, it can help, the salad to throw on a plate, or whatever.
It can help to fill the gaps just a little bit. I love that.
All right. Tell me about table setting. How do you get your kids involved?
So I was saying earlier that when I love to cook with my kids, but sometimes when we have people over for dinner, it's not the most ideal time to get like, you know, the 2-year-old and the 4-year-old on the counter helping mix things. It's more of like, okay, we're going to have a baking day on a day that people are not coming over. So I tend to try to be a little bit more streamlined when we're having guests, but I do still love to involve them so that you can, you know, kind of help them feel like, oh, this is not just mom's thing that she's doing.
Right.
And like, okay, people are coming over and it's all gonna, you know, it's mom's thing. You want them to be as excited as possible. So we talk about, we talk about the names of the people that are coming over, and, you know, and we can draw name cards for them. My 4-year-old loves drawing name cards. She can't really write yet, but she loves just sitting down at her little craft table and drawing little name cards, and she'll put them there. And so they help me set the table. And I feel like that's a really good way to involve them. So you can, you know, when they get there, it's like, Lily has helped set the table. And then she's just so proud. And she feels very like a part of hosting, you know, but it's a little bit of a less messy way of involving that. So just having them set the table. I love using cloth napkins when guests come. I have navy cloth napkins, and that's my favorite color because it just they don't stain. Yeah, and they're like the linen ones from Pottery Barn, and I feel like navy is such a versatile color. It goes with like it's a summertime color if you have like white plates and kind of an orange table runner, and it's obviously fine for winter too.
Sunflowers.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So I love my navy napkins, and so they love putting like the napkin rings on there. And so just involving kids in the table setting, I feel like is a great way of involving them without maybe
and then it doesn't have to be perfect. I mean,
yes, exactly.
And fork in the wrong place is just cute.
Right. Yes.
Moment, you know,
exactly.
If it's you that got it all backwards,
I know. Right.
That might
a little
be
more awkward. Right.
If the 2-year-old and the 7-year-old at the table, I mean, it's just adorable no matter what happens.
Exactly. Yes, it's great.
That is such a great idea, and I've never thought about the name cards. So does she just draw like a picture and then you write names on them, or how do you do that?
Well, we haven't done that yet. We've it's more of just like she knows she can write about 5 or 6 letters. So she'll just write, you know, she'll be like, oh, this is Mrs. Mrs. Hawthorne's. And so, and it's just kind of,
it's just
letters. Right. Yeah.
But maybe an H on there.
Exactly.
I would treasure that.
I know. Right. Isn't it so
I would
fun?
take it home and frame it.
Yes. But I think that is a good idea. I think as she's just really started drawing so much. And so, I feel like as she does that more and more, we'll do more of like, kind of a joint effort. I'll help her draw the actual names when she's so maybe fun. 5 or 6 or
I was at the farmer's market last Saturday, and there were a couple little girls at a booth, and they were selling some things they made. But what was really cute, what stood out, it was I don't know how old she was.
Yeah.
I would say under 5.
Yeah.
But there were these little note cards, like you might write a little note to somebody or thank you note or something with these note cards. And her older sister was telling me that she painted them, the little girl.
Oh, yeah.
So apparently her mom sits her down and she can just use paint and
nice, yeah,
or drizzle paint. I'm sure they have different techniques.
Oh, cute, yeah.
And then just cut them into note cards. And it was so cute.
Oh, that's
I thought,
so
what a
fun.
great idea for younger kids.
Right, yeah.
To be able to.
That's really cute.
And then cute enough that an adult could use them, but then that could be a way that they might say, thank you for my birthday present or whatever.
Right. Yes, exactly.
You're teaching them to write thank you notes.
Right. Yes, exactly.
Anyway, great ideas. And your husband being an artist, I'm sure he has all kinds of fun techniques that they can use.
Yeah, they have quite the they have the fun. He lets them use one of his like little watercolor things. So their art supplies are way nicer than anything I had growing up. So that's really fun for them.
Not finger paints from Walmart.
Yes. No, we haven't done that, but I want to. But yeah.
Okay, very good. What is your must-have kitchen item, and where can we find it?
Yeah, so I love my cast iron skillets. I have a 12-inch one and 2 10-inch ones. And I really like, they're from Lodge, all of them, and I really like them.
It's a pretty good brand.
Yeah, it's a good brand and really reasonably priced. I can't remember exactly how much it was, but I think it was like 20 or something, or maybe even under that, but that was also a while ago, so maybe, or a couple of years ago. So
do you cook every day in cast iron, or do you think of particular things?
I cook everything in cast iron. We make eggs. We just recently got chickens, so we're having we get about 5. Well, we have 5 chickens, so we're getting it's still summertime, so we're getting about five eggs a day. And
that's
and
perfect.
so we do eggs in them almost every morning. I make a lot of Dutch babies in them in the oven. And I just love my cast iron skillet. I use it for everything. And often I'll just keep it on my stove.
How do you keep it seasoned?
Yeah.
So seasoned means non-stick.
Right.
For those of you that don't use cast iron.
Yeah.
If they're brand new, they're good in season. But
Right.
sometimes they can lose
Yes.
that non-stick ability. So do you have a tip for that?
Yeah, actually my mother-in-law gave me her tip and I use it. So when you wash it, you don't wash it with soap. You can sometimes use a little bit of soap, but usually I just get my scrubby thing with just really hot water. And then you set it on the stove, turn the stove on to dry it. And then once it's basically almost dry, I get Crisco. I have a jar of Crisco that I pretty much only use for this. And you get paper towel, you wipe your Crisco. And then while it's still really hot from drying.
It kind of absorbs a little bit into the cast iron.
Then I just wipe the Crisco like all inside the pan. And I don't do that every time I use it, maybe about once a week.
Okay.
And it works really well. So
And for those of you who are thinking about that, there are oils that work and oils that don't. So I know some people might think, oh, well, I'd want to use an olive oil, something healthier.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's recommended, actually.
Yeah,
I think for seasoning a cast iron skillet.
Yes.
I'm not sure which ones are recommended, which ones aren't, but I know some, they're just not the type of quality for that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Because I think, I think an olive oil can, like the burning point is lower than like a canola oil. So it's like, it's not as... Or at least if it's not bad for you, you're not really getting any nutritional value. So it doesn't, whenever you get past a certain temperature. So you might as well not use your expensive olive oil on that. So.
And Lodge is sold lots of places and they offer lots of different varieties. So you can buy the round ones. You said you had 12-inch and something else.
Yeah, 2 10-inch as well. Yeah.
Those are ideal for everyday use.
Right.
My husband bought a giant one. I don't know how many inches it is, but a giant one for frying fish at the lake.
Oh, wow.
He,
okay, awesome.
Likes to fish.
Is it like a rectangle?
No,
or is
it's just a giant circle. So I don't know. I'd have to measure, but I don't know if it's like maybe a 20-inch or something like that.
Okay. But, that's amazing.
Or maybe we did the French fries in that. I can't remember, but if for a
so it goes over
quantity,
like multiple burners. Okay, cool.
You could use it on one, but then it's like only the center is
totally. Yes,
anything happening.
Yeah.
So he had it on a big outdoor type burner.
Okay,
like one of those gas burners.
Yes.
So, but one of my favorite things that they offered was a rectangular.
Okay, yeah.
And it goes over 2 stove burners.
Okay, yeah.
And so it was a cast iron. One side was a flat griddle, like for pancakes.
Right.
Or you could do eggs or bacon or whatever you want to cook on there. But it was a griddle. It goes over 2 burners.
Okay.
And then you flip it over and it has ridges.
Okay, we just recently got this one as well. I got it for my husband for Father's Day because he makes pancakes for the girls every Saturday morning. And so... Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I love it too.
I really like it. We used it for years with the kids growing up.
Yeah, what else do you use it for? Because we've just used it for pancakes
Well,
so far.
if you flip it over, the ridge part can sear things. Like it could sear steak or it could sear vegetables or whatever. I actually need to buy another one because my husband borrowed mine. This was years ago.
Oh, funny.
I kept it in my kitchen by my stove and used it all the time.
Right.
Mostly for things like pancakes.
Yeah,
I use the flat side the most.
Right.
And he borrowed it to take outside to use on his grill for something, and it didn't make it back inside for a while, and I didn't know that, and it was out in the rain.
And it's like, not
it
going to
was
use that.
pretty rough shape. I'm like, okay, either I'm going to have to Google like how to completely strip cast iron and try to restore this thing, or I think it eventually just went by the wayside. So I need to put your tip on my wish list.
I know. Well, and they're pretty reasonably priced. Like I'm always like kind of pleasantly surprised by. Again, this was before all the weird shortages and all the different materials getting so expensive. Issues. But yeah,
and cast iron seems to last forever.
It does.
I mean, you can go to antique shops and find cast iron.
Especially if you keep it in good condition.
My grandma passed down, my twin sister, I think, got the set because I already had some from my husband's mother.
Yeah.
but she had a set of 3
Oh,
circular
okay.
ones, probably the 12-inch, 10-inch, 8-inch.
Right.
And they're in perfect condition.
Oh, wow.
And they were probably from her grandmother.
Right.
Now,
That's
who even
amazing.
knows? It was just, they just last forever.
That's amazing. Yeah.
It's a great investment.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love, because then I feel like with my nonstick pans, I was always worried about, the
coating.
Yeah, the coating coming up, and I don't know. I love my nonstick.
And the nonstick pans, you can get really a lot better quality nowadays. I don't know, back in way long ago when I was using nonstick, they would peel pretty quick.
Yeah, they would. Yeah.
And so seemed like a waste of money.
Yes, yeah.
But then also you're like, where did that go?
I know. I guess we ate it.
Food.
Yes, I know. I'm like, I don't really even want to have to think about it. So
and cast iron, it's called iron.
Yeah.
But I think I've read before that it actually helps put iron in when you cook in it.
Yes.
Doesn't it give some iron into your food?
Yeah, that's what I've heard too. Yeah, that it can actually be almost like taking an iron supplement. Yeah. I've heard that too.
I don't know.
Yeah, I know.
Iron helps with energy.
Yes,
so
yeah.
Cooking cast iron.
Yeah, so that's my favorite. And then I love my Dutch ovens as well. I use them just a ton in the winter. So those are pretty much the only cooking pans that I use.
And I think Le Creuset, that's the most popular one, or famous one that I know of.
Yeah.
But there's lots of other Dutch ovens. That isn't it cast iron that's coated with enamel?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, so a Lodge has another one. So I have one. My husband got me a Le Creuset, and it was, they're very expensive. And so he ordered it for me, I think for my birthday or something. And I don't think quite looked at or didn't realize the measurement. So it came, and it's really small. It's just like a saucepan. And we both just laughed because he's like, I thought that was going to be big. I know. I thought that was going to be a big one. Yes. But it turns out I use it all the time. I use it. So I now have my Le Creuset saucepan. And then I have I don't know what brand it is. I found it in new condition at a thrift store, but it's the size that's great for a artisan loaf of sourdough. And then I have my really big one that's a Lodge. And I think it was $50, and it's great. I mean, I honestly, they're just as good as the Le Creuset, but I still like my Le Creuset the best because, and I do use it all the time because it turns out it's just the perfect, heavy bottom sauce thing. So,
and again, I think if you invest in it'd be great if you could have a whole set, but if you know the size that you use all the time, investing in something that is quality that'll last forever.
Right. Yeah. It's true.
It's probably better than I got one from Sam's Club. It was cast iron enamel, and it didn't last as long. It lasted for a very long time, but then it started losing its nonstick quality. So I guess the enamel
started wearing off.
It wore off, and I don't know that is it Le or La Creuset? Le Creuset.
I know, right? I know. It depends on Yeah, if we're gonna go
Creuset.
Right.
It's brought a more higher quality, so might be worth it. A
Oh
splurge.
yeah. I definitely and then it makes cooking such a joy. I mean,
And speaking of cooking being a joy, I did mean to mention this when she was talking about music. Ina Garten, for those of you who follow Barefoot Contessa or have gotten tips from her over the years, she actually has posted a playlist, her cooking playlist, and she calls it Women Who Rock. So you can Google that. It's on Apple Music. I'm not sure where else it is. But she says, when I'm cooking, I love to crank up the tunes, and these are some of my favorite songs. So
fun.
I haven't actually played through this, but I think I might and just test it out. Yeah. Because another thing that's really fun to do when you're prepping and is to, you talked about when guests come in to have a fun vibe, but it's also fun. Get that energy going while you're cooking and cleaning and all of the things, the work going on. It's fun to have some music going.
Yeah. And to just decide that I'm going to enjoy this. Instead of starting to get martyrdom syndrome of wow, I'm working so hard.
Right.
And this is all going to be gone in a minute. It's this, I'm just going to enjoy it from start to finish.
Yes.
If you just tell yourself, this is no option. I'm just going to have fun. And I'm going to enjoy it. Then you do. And so,
definitely don't feel sorry for yourself because you are doing it. You are giving, you're serving for other people, and it's going to be such a blessing for them and your family.
Yeah.
And so you can totally ruin it by having a bad attitude.
Oh, totally.
Or
I
feel sorry for myself attitude.
Yes. Yeah. Right.
Look at for me all the work I have to do.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So true. So true.
Kind of takes away the blessing.
Yeah.
That you are bestowing on someone else.
Right, exactly.
Okay, well, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
You have so many great tips, and I cannot wait to post and try this recipe.
I know. Yes, it's a fun one.
I kind of don't care if chicken is on sale. I'm trying it.
I know, right? I know.
Even if it's a
good one. Right, it's a good one.
All right. Thank you for joining me. And again, for this recipe, it's at comeoverfordinner.com. And be sure and share the show. If you like this episode, you can, wherever you follow the podcast, you can share it with a friend. I know on Apple, at the top right, they have 3 little dots. And if you click on it, you can either follow the show at the top or a little bit further down, it says share this episode. So do that. And if you have a friend who would also appreciate this recipe. Bye for now.